So yeah, Luke, we start recording. This would probably be the first and last serious conversation that we will ever have, Luke. Okay, so
have too many.
So Luke, if you could just explain your current role to us. I know it's a split role, but if you could give a brief summary of that to start with.
Yeah, so I do the 7/8s and the development centres. So we have 10 development centres in London and the South East, with around 30 boys in each, 3 or 4 coaches, and a scout coordinator that look after each centre, and myself and Sam oversee those 10 centres.
Yeah.
And then my job, along with Sam, is to run festivals. So we get the best players from each centre, or what we perceive to be the best players at the time, into festivals, to look at them, to form an under 7s group, which they play matches. Obviously, they've only played 3 or 4 because we start normally from Christmas through to the end of May. So this year has been a bit of a pain, like it has for everyone. So we've only played 3 games with those boys, and then we decide who goes on. The majority, probably 95%, go on to the under 8s, where it gets serious, shall we say, where they're looking to sign for Chelsea at under 9. So we're making decisions on hopefully the best players that end up signing for Chelsea, and working against the likes of West Ham, Tottenham, Arsenal, Fulham, all those clubs in and around London wanting to sign the best players. And it's our job. We got told the most important thing is get the players at an early age, because if you don't get them, then you're always sort of trying to claw back and get the best players, and it's hard to do from other Category 1 clubs. So we've got to get the players in at 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. And then obviously that role is then split with your coaching role with the under 12s.
Yeah. So I do the under 12s this year. The last 5 seasons I've done the under 11s, and we've just sort of switched to a 2-year banding now. So work with the 11s last year, take them onto the 12s, and then next year we'll go back and take the now under 10s as under 11s and under 12s for 2 years, and just seeing we're guinea pigs really to see how that works, the advantages, disadvantages of that. So working with the under 12s, got a really good group of boys, parents, and they're doing very well at the moment.
And support staff, you meant to say that, Sharpie, as well.
Well, you don't work with us so much anymore, Michael. But would have said that before.
That dual role, how do you find it? What sort of challenges exist from day to day and week to week?
With the development centres, it's getting around them. It's quite a busy job. It's obviously, it doesn't bother me. It's sort of unsociable hours. The main stuff is all sort of at night, which is good. You're getting the boys in, but it's getting around all the 10 development centres, the festivals on Saturdays, combining it all together. I would say the role is getting bigger and bigger on each side of the job. So it's just managing your time would be one of the main things, I would say.
And just with regards to your recruitment role, overseeing those development centres, what would you say has changed the most within that area of work the last sort of 3 to 4 years?
Probably the standard of player gets better and better and better every year. It is incredible. It sounds stupid what a 6-year-old, what a 7-year-old can do, and then the fight with other clubs, if you like, is getting harder and harder. Everyone's doing more and more at that age to get them, so we've got to make sure we're ahead of the game at all points to make sure we do get those players over the line and sign for Chelsea. So it's that constant battle to get the best players and making sure you're ahead of the other clubs.
Yeah, and it's always fascinating to see the work that you and Sam do on a Wednesday night, particularly when you've got those younger age groups in, and I guess the quality of coaches that you've got and the sort of the personal interactions that they have with some of those younger boys. I think is a testament to the work that you and Sam do.
that is at that age massive. The enthusiasm, well, at any age, but especially at that age, the enthusiasm of the coaches, the willingness, the wanting to help the players and make them better, and making sure they have fun, because you've got to remember they're still 6, they're still 7 years old. They've got to be enjoying themselves as well as learning. So it's getting the right staff in place, you would say, for those age groups.
Yeah, and then just flipping to your coaching role, and you were saying the standard player, particularly with the development centres improving, and obviously the standard player coming into the academy now. I sometimes find it difficult to almost keep up with them. Sometimes, obviously, not just when I'm playing on the pitch with them.
We've seen that.
Yeah. In terms of your coaching, how do you continue to sort of? We'll probably get onto it in a bit more detail later on, but continue to challenge those young boys that you're working with.
Yeah, it's been probably more of a challenge again this year, because they're another year older. They're learn so much off of YouTube, the stuff we already give them, the stuff they find out, the stuff their parents know. So it's making sure you're one step ahead, because I think if you don't know what you're talking about, they know that, they find you out straight away and you've had it. So you've got to make sure you're always one step ahead of the game. Yeah,
it's a constant challenge, isn't it? Just to sort of put this into perspective for those who are going to listen and watch this, you travel a long way to work every day, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I travel 80 miles from Swindon, but I travel off peak mainly, so it takes an hour and 20 minutes. Some of the boys from North London, it takes that long to get into work, so it sort of swings and roundabouts, and you travel that far if you want to do so, if you're passionate about it and you enjoy doing it, I suppose.
Yeah, no, very much so. Just obviously with the Swindon mention there, can you just explain a bit about your background, so how you initially got into coaching, all the way up to joining the academy, 5 years ago?
Yeah, this is my end of my 6th season. Yeah. Now, so I started. Going right back, I lived in a little village, literally. I know you've been out that way, Michael, in the Cotswolds. Just playing. So I just play football. I didn't have a computer. I was just obsessed with football from an early age. Playing football in the field next door. My brother was 6 years older than me, and I play with all his mates and just play, and then play with a mate on the street and just practice and play 2-touch in kitchens, so you couldn't smash anything, because when it's dark there was no street lights in the winter. You're striking a ball up and down the street, but there's cars on one side and an old man's veggie garden on the other, so if it goes in either, you get your ball confiscated. So that's how you get your ball striking right, and often tell that story to the boys. But just getting into football and just loving it, and then I was okay at it as a kid. Got picked up actually when there was an Everton scout around Swindon. He ended up taking me up there. I went up, they wanted me to come back, but the lad 4 doors down from me actually played for Swindon, and he went, well, I'll speak to them at Swindon, we don't want to be losing someone. And so I ended up going on trial, signing there at 12. Things weren't quite as advanced in those days. It took a little bit longer. They didn't have things. I didn't play football till I was 9, first competitive game. So it took a lot longer back then. But so I started playing for Swindon. Had some good coaches, some average coaches when you look back at it, and just started picking things up. And I think the main thing was I was obsessed with football. And you ask me, wife now, go out to dinner with anyone. If they don't like football, then I struggle for conversation. I'm a little bit boring that way. I just haven't. But I think you need that. Where if you want to be a football coach, you've got to be at a certain level. You've got to be obsessed with it and want to get better at it all the time and love it. So I played for them. I wasn't good enough, and at 18 got released, and then the foundation, as it is at Chelsea, the football in the community. I actually went to college as well, believe it or not. But I went for a couple of years while playing, and I went on work experience in the footballing community. They liked what I'd done. They offered me a job at, again, £40 a week. Just started coaching, cleaning balls, cleaning the boss's boots. You wouldn't do that now, but I used to do things like that: clean the footballs, get the bibs ready, get everything ready. And then I started working on holiday courses, obviously going out to after school clubs, in school coaching. Now, when you've got 30 kids turn up and you've got 30 balls, but you're working in a school hall, how are you going to adapt your session for half an hour and get the most out of each one of them players? Or it's all those different situations. I think if you have made me a lot better coach, I'm not saying the actual standard of coaching and your knowledge, but your organisation, knowing what to do, how to adjust. When we have training sessions, you think you got 16 and then 2 get caught as an accident on the A3 and you're 2 down, or you might be whatever. You've got to adjust. You can't go, oh no, I can't do my session. Yep. So all those little things, organisational things, I think have helped out over the years. So I've done that for 17 years. Different. I've done from 3, so tiny tots football, 4s and 5 mini soccer, after school clubs, like I said, holiday courses. I've done under 18s, which was half futsal and half 11-a-side project. So a huge range, and worked with a huge range of coaches doing that as well. Also ended up managing a non-league side to the end of the season. They're in the relegation zone. We're on 7 out of 8 and stayed up mid-table. And then actually ended up coming to Chelsea after that, so didn't go back the next season. But yeah, so a wide variety of ages, from 3 to grown men to different surfaces, to different arenas, everything. I think I've had a little mixture of all of it.
Yeah, people often have different journeys, don't they, to where they currently are, but I just wonder, and I know I speak a lot about it and I'm very passionate about it, and I call it that apprenticeship, but that ability, to almost earn the right to coach, maybe in the environments where we work, I think is really important. And as you said, it gives you the ability to be really adaptable and flexible, and to think on your feet, doesn't it, when you come from those sorts of environments and settings?
Yeah, because you've naturally just had to do it. I have a teacher come out who doesn't have a clue about sport, and you're there on your own. You've got to deal with it. If you don't deal with it, it goes flat. So you've just got to do that and get on with it. And then I think experience in coaching helps, because you can go on coaching courses, which is fine. You do learn on coaching courses, but you learn a lot more, I think, by watching other people and going, yeah, that's a good session. And I am a session stealer. And I think if you ask most coaches, they are. If they see a good session, they take it. They might adapt it. They might go, right, you're doing that with under 18s. I'm doing it with under 12s. I'm going to tinker with it and do it like this. Or just, I think it would be better if it done like this. But it's the main part of the session you can get, and you just learn and take little sessions. And as you know, I have my favourite type of sessions that I do, and what I like in a session, and you just take bits and pieces from different people all the time. I know, going out watching day release and the older ones, 16s, 18s, you get to see things. And the other hand, I know that the under 16s come out the other day, watched just a simple passing drill and went, oh yeah, I really like that, I'm going to do that with the boys next week. So it's just about the sharing of ideas, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, and probably it'll be interesting what happens when we get back to work. But I think this time has allowed people to reflect on stuff, and I think that's one of the key things that we probably need to do more of, is share and have these conversations more often, because I think you get to know people better, and also you get to share and exchange ideas and thoughts as well, which I think is really important.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot more experienced coaches and coaches that have worked at higher age groups than me, and it's great to on the email chain, get different ones and look at different things that they've seen. And you're sat at home, it's not great, but you're still trying to learn and think of different ways of finding things you can take back when you eventually do go back to help the boys out.
Yeah. Just so we got on to sort of discussing on the pitch stuff, and I've been, and again, this will probably be the first and last time that I will say, once this recording's finished, it will be back to our normal relationship. But I would, I've obviously had the privilege of working with you for the last 4 seasons.
5? Did you only go over this year? Was it 5?
Yeah, I started off when I think the season you started is when you lost your car keys, and we had to.
Yeah. How to live that one down.
But for me, one of the sort of key things that I've taken from you and learned from you, one is the simplicity of your coaching, the sessions you put on, but the detail then within those, and then also a lot of your coaching takes place almost, I'm going to call it off the pitch, but almost in between sessions and in other places apart from the pitch. Would that be fair enough? Sort of.
Yeah. On that second point, 100%. You're always talking and reflecting is a big thing on your session. I mean, like you touched on my journey home as well. On a Thursday night, on a Saturday afternoon, I have a journey home of an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes. I will always think about my session, what went well, what didn't go so well, what could I have done better, why didn't it go so well. And I think you've got to do that every time, every session you do, because then the next one you make better. If you just put it on and then walk away, your session is never going to become any better. So reflecting is definitely on your own and with other people. Obviously working with Sam, and when I worked with you, we would always talk and we would have a little bit of banter about the session, but it'd always be a serious sort of undertone of what we could do better to try and help the boys out, which is obviously really important.
You're currently studying for your A license. You've obviously got your AYA, and you're now studying for your A license. Can you, by obviously combining your experience with doing that qualification, I know we briefly spoke the other day about your current thinking around coaching and just carrying on those conversations of simplicity, but obviously some detail and depth behind them. Where are you currently at, do you think, in terms of your own coaching knowledge and understanding?
I've done the non-league, like I touched earlier, 11-a-side, but the academy 11-a-side is completely different. 9-a-side and the 7-a-side stuff I've done for the last 5-6 years, and you are always learning, but I'm fairly comfortable with doing 9-a-side and the 3 or 4 different formations and how to press and win the ball back, how to keep the ball, whether it's an attacking formation, whether it's a retain and build formation. 11-a-side is different, and I'm still learning definitely with that, and I've really enjoyed doing that, and that's one reason I'm gutted I'm sat in this house and not there, because it's that time of year where we're doing 11-a-side. The boys are just getting used to it. I'm learning loads, being on the A license and watching others, and wanting to put it into practice. So definitely more work with 11-a-side academy football. I would like to do at some point in the future for my own development. 100%, yeah.
The academy has obviously mentoring as part of everyone's learning. Are you able to share some of those conversations that you have with Simon, who comes out and observes and provides you with some feedback?
Yeah, so it's different having a top tennis coach come out and watch you, to watch you from a different point of view, which I think is great. It's not just a football, it's not just a coach, the session, it's you as a coach, different things, the interactions and the way you coach, what you're saying. So it's probably looked at slightly differently. And I really enjoy those. It's been out this season, 4 times to watch me. So he's obviously got to watch all the other coaches as well. We have a planning meeting beforehand and talk through why you're doing this session, what you want to get out of it, and what you want at the end. And then he watches it writes notes, and then comes back, and then the following week we'll reflect on it for 45 minutes, and he'll ask me questions, I'll ask him questions, and we'll sort of just talk through the session. And finished one last 2 weeks ago, and actually had a Skype call about the reflection on it. Probably the flow of the session, something that's good that's come out of it, having a good flow, going from one thing to the other and it all connecting up, so sort of flitting around from one to the other. It's got a constant flow all the way through to the game and the theme of the evening. And yeah, I do like a fairly simple session, like you say. I'm known for it, but it's the boys get it very quickly, and then if you can get the detail into that session, then they're definitely getting something out of it. I don't think it has to be 12 different directions, 400 cones, 12 goals, 4 keepers. To get to be a good session, you've got your time and your place for a bit of chaos, but you've also got a structured session, directional, and you're getting exactly what you want out of it with the detail, and the boys know what they're doing and stepping in and drive-by coaching when they need to be coached.
I think that's one of the key things that I take from working with you and Sam, particularly you. I think sitting watching you, the range of sort of coaching interventions that you both engage with, but particularly you, I know we'll be having conversations on the sideline about certain players and actually not getting involved, and then the stopping the game, using yourself as a to show, so to model good practice, I guess, but then to encourage and drive, and then maybe to ask questions as well. So that variety in the interventions that you use, I think is really impressive. And I think one of the key things, to going back to one of the questions earlier, I think those conversations that you have one to one, whether it's in the game or out of the game, I think are really valuable, and you can see the players engaging in those conversations, which sometimes I guess is a bit difficult if I'm an 11 and 12-year-old, but they definitely have a good rapport with you.
Yeah, obviously I've known those boys since 7, which helps as well. But it's knowing how much, I know I've got 2 kids myself, how long their attention span is and how much detail they're going to take in. It's like in the team talk at half time, only giving 2 or 3 points. You give 11 or 12 points, they go in one ear, out the other, and they don't actually take in any. Whereas if you give them 2 or 3, they might do those 2 or 3 during that period, and then the next period, if they've done it, great, reflect on it and then go to the next one. But don't give them too much information, because their attention span isn't the longest.
No, yeah, I can definitely vouch for that. Just to begin to sort of not necessarily wrap up, but to come to an end, which I guess is the same as wrapping up. So I've just contradicted exactly what I've said. So anyway, you spoke about reflections and the conversations you've had with Simon. How do you then connect those reflections to your next practice? What have you done to go, right, okay, he said maybe I need to get better at this and this, or I need to maintain this? What do you sort of physically do? What do you think about to ensure that reflection is kept alive, so to speak?
I suppose it might be a little tweak of the session to make sure you can get those outcomes, and then just having them in your head. So there's no point having that conversation and then walking away and forgetting it and then not doing it in the session. So you've got to take, like I just said about the kids, I'm perhaps a little bit like them. If you give me 12 bits of information, I won't remember any of them, but if I take 3 away, I'll work on them. So it might be making sure you're getting the detail. So one thing we spoke about the other day, you said concentrate, but what do you mean by concentrate? Well, I mean, get your first touch right, out your feet, ready, break the line to play. Well, let's make sure that's being said then. Concentrate's okay, but concentrate's quite a broad word. Be more detailed in. And the another one was, we were doing a passing drill, bobble. He said he really liked that because you're describing what it is. Don't have a bobbly pass. Get a flat pass, strike it in, no bobbles. And he said, yeah, that's great. You're telling them, they know no bobbles, so they're going to put it on the floor. So it's that little bit of detail. So yeah, just sort of taking those little snippets that you get from people and taking them on board and making sure you put them into your coaching, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. As you said, if you leave those reflections on the shelf, then you just wasted 45 minutes or an hour of that, of your time.
And especially when you're getting really good feedback from people that have been there, done it,
yeah,
at a very high level in a sport. So if you don't take that on, you're stupid, really, aren't you? You're not going to improve.
No, very much so. I know the current times people are sat indoors and it's quite a challenging and negative experience. But can you think of any positives that you've gained out of being at home? Obviously, seeing your wife and kids much more than you ever would during the week. Obviously, that's the biggest positive out of this. But what would be some of the other things that you've had time to do?
I've definitely got better on a computer, as you know, Michael. Here, and I'm not an expert on it, but I'm definitely better. I've got to you, so it's a start. No, but I have, on a serious note, I have got a lot better at that, which is a good thing, and I need to. And what else? Well, my garden.
Okay. Yeah.
Just had my turf delivered, so
I look forward to seeing.
I'll be relaying my garden, obviously in lunchtimes and
and at the weekends. Obviously, yeah.
But yeah, on a serious note, though, just talking with people like you mentioned earlier about football, reflecting on things. I watched Maradona. It's a 3-hour documentary on Maradona, and just he was obviously one of the best players ever, and the way he ticked and what he got up to, and just can I take that and just think about our players and different little things. There was one on the Crazy Gang that I watched in the 90s and how they behaved, and you want to behave like that. But just watching different little documentaries on football and what can you take out of it and what can you not take out of it. So when we do go back, we're hopefully better and raring to go for probably a new season.
Yeah, I was going to say that next season or this season, we'll go into next season. We'll probably be working 12 months straight, won't we?
Yeah, could be. But I don't want to think about that at the
moment. I hope you'll send me through some pictures of your newly laid lawn. I look forward to it.
I'll be going out in my lunch hour and doing that in a minute.
Of course, yeah, lunch hour and weekends as well. Yeah. So yeah, I need that to be put on the record. Okay, Luke, thank you very much for that. As you said, I'm really grateful for your time. I'm grateful for the fact as well you were able to press the right buttons to join me today. So
everything for you, Michael.
It's a big goal tick. So thank you very much, and maybe we'll carry on this conversation again at some point.
No problem. Thank you very much.